That's
How about that?
Better? Question mark.
That's goated right there, man. Having the wife and family watching,
Right.
I love it.
I think she should be able to hear us now.
All right.
We need to know. We need to know.
Yes.
Yay, we're in.
We're here.
We're in.
Nice.
Hey, the good thing is it's been recording on GarageBand, so everything we just captured, we're good.
Oh, nice.
So y'all got to listen to it on Wednesday to hear the beginning part.
Oh yeah.
Get educated on caffeine.
Yeah,
That's right.
Hey, Sideline Talk episode 2, season 2.
Season 2, episode 2.
I like it.
Yeah.
First guest of the year. I'm excited.
No,
Yeah.
second guest of the year, dude.
For season
we had
2?
Ezra on last weekend.
Oh my god, dude!
I was like, what is he talking about?
I'm sorry, bro. My birthday is tomorrow. I'm getting old, man.
Mike, how old are you gonna be?
36,
I
bro.
was about to say like 47.
Can't remember anything. I can't remember anything, bro.
36 years. How's that make you feel?
Old.
Yeah.
Wow.
You and my mom are
Happy
like,
early birthday, bro.
How old are you? Thank you.
I'm 24.
I wish I was 24 again. I wish I was 24.
Oh man. All right. Well, let's talk soccer real quick. Little boys, we always start with that. So we're here, guys. Regular season is done.
Mhm.
And
Finito.
we've got the tournament coming up next
Friday.
weekend. So
It's gonna be interesting.
are our boys ready?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes. Come support us.
Like
Come support Sideline Talk. Little boys.
Yeah.
At Mesa
Next
weekend.
Nope.
Dude, I'm excited for our little boys.
What's
Yeah,
the name
yeah.
of the tournament?
So it's the fall festival. So CISA.
Mm-hmm.
So all our kids play for CISA, and right now our older boys, they're 6 and 7 years old, and they play for this. It's called the Center of Excellence, and it's a team that you try out for, but you don't travel. What they do is they're 6 and 7 year olds, and they're playing up in the U10 league at CISA.
Okay.
So we're playing in the
Good for them.
recreational fall festival, and
That's sweet.
that's coming up this weekend. So it'll be really fun to see what they can do. Yeah, I mean, quick brag. I mean, out of 43 teams in the league, our kids are the number 1 seed.
Hell yeah.
So
Two.
Oh, number 2 seed?
Yeah, 2.
Oh, when did that change?
Last week.
Oh, no.
Half of our team is number 1. I'm sure if we had
We're 2 and 3.
Okay, gotcha.
We're 2 and 3.
and 3.
Kennedy, then
Us two?
them. No, we're 2 and 4. Sorry, it's Kennedy.
Us.
Split 1. This team that starts with the G, then split 2.
Grace sick or something.
Yeah.
Grace sick. Yeah. But our splits are a little bit weird because it changes every week. So
Every 3 weeks.
But every 3 weeks. Yeah. I was thinking every week. Just sometimes we have the academy games and stuff.
Yeah, but we never know who's going to be on the team.
Right. So we never know. And then it's always, so it's like, I feel like our team's number 1 because if we put the 2 teams together, 2 splits together every single time.
So
we'd
you
be on
guys
top.
have
Right.
totally lost him, and you've lost me. So
Yeah.
let's bring in.
you're over here playing around.
Let's introduce Ryan real quick. So Ryan, we got Ryan. Don't let me butcher it. Is it Bilichuck?
Bilichuck.
Just like it sounds.
Just like it sounds.
All right, Bilichuck. Brian Bilichuck.
Bilichuck.
Almost like Bilichuck.
Almost like Bilichuck.
Almost like
Yeah.
Bilichuck, but Bilichuck.
Right.
Got it.
There it is.
So Ryan, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for coming over on a Sunday evening at 5:00. Man, this is like the first day in South Carolina. It really feels like fall.
Yeah.
For sure.
Sweater weather.
Happy to be here.
Dude,
man.
awesome.
Appreciate you coming, man.
So we're a youth sports podcast. So the whole preface of this is just to kind of gather. We'll start like what your youth sports experience was like growing up. So real quick, where were you from? Where did you grow up? And when did you find soccer?
Man, I grew up kind of all over the East Coast. I was originally born in New York, but I lived there for about a year. And so I like to say I was raised in Florida. My dad is from Argentina, so that's how
awesome.
soccer. I started touching the ball since I was about 2 years old, and then I started playing soccer really in Sarasota, Florida.
Okay.
Training with my dad. He was a goalkeeper in Argentina, so I wanted to be just like him.
Mhm.
So I started being a goalkeeper at 8 years old. I remember training with him in the park, and then it started getting a little bit more competitive after I moved to North Carolina, and then I was a part of like used to be called the Railhawks back then.
Okay.
Now it's like Castle or I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not too familiar now. So I played a little bit of youth soccer there, club sports. And then after that, I moved back to Florida and I ended up in Miami. And then that's where I got even more competitive. You know, a lot of travel tournaments like Disney, ESPN, Wide World of Sports.
Nice.
And then after that, I ended up moving to Virginia.
Nice.
And
Holy
so-
cow! Lots of
Literally everywhere.
Was
Yeah.
all of this for your dad's work?
It was all for my dad's job. He was in the
Okay.
military. I get that asked a lot. It was just for his job, and I ended up in this club called Annandale.
Okay.
And I did not make my high school team.
Wow. Okay, let's bring this back a little bit. I want to go back to 8 years old.
Yeah.
And then I want to talk about how you didn't make your high school soccer team, because that's pretty wild. So 8 years old, you became a goalkeeper because your dad is a goalkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because that was going to be my first question, is like, what at most kids, you know, they want to be out in the field. They fall in love with soccer because they have the ball on their feet. Goalkeepers, like for us,
We can't find a
we don't even
goalkeeper for
have
our
a
team.
goalkeeper for our
Really?
team, right? Yeah, because
Yeah.
nobody wants to play goalkeeper.
Mhm.
So, did you ever play out in the field, or were you always like, I want to be just like my dad, I'm playing goalkeeper and that's it?
I always play goalkeeper.
Always.
Always play goalkeeper. I mean, I remember on a handful of times I was out in the outfield, but always goalkeeper.
So your team got lucky. They had a permanent goalkeeper. That's what we
Yeah.
need.
We need that now.
But I was the kid that I used to get upset if they put somebody else in goal. Like that was me.
Ah,
Nice.
I love to be in goal. And then, you know, I was young, so like 10 years old. I was like, okay, you know, give me some time on the field.
Yeah.
But other than that, I love being in the goal.
Now, did the coaches, did they try to stress the importance of trying, or did they think it was important to try to get you out on the field, or were they like, we're committing to this kid as goalkeeper at that young of an age?
No, they didn't stress.
No.
No, they didn't stress it. The game was a bit different back then. You know, now goalkeepers are heavily involved. Like even from a young age, keepers are always using their feet. But back then, when that was like 2009, you know, 2010, it wasn't a big thing for keepers to play with their feet. So it was just save the ball, be in goal.
Nice.
Don't let the ball in. Yeah.
Right.
How'd your dad feel about that? Did he want you to play on the field, or did he just want you to play goalkeeper?
Nah, he liked that I played.
That's what he did. Got you.
Yeah, he liked that I played goalkeeper, and I was good. I was for my age, I was very good.
Nice.
Always, yeah.
You had that private training growing up for your dad.
I did.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so
exactly.
So talk about that. Is that something that your dad really worked on with you when you said I want to be a goalkeeper, Dad? He's like, all right, well, this is how we're gonna do it. And was he kind of like your goalkeeper coach at the very beginning?
He was, he was my goalkeeper coach in the very beginning, and I think he saw a lot of potential in me, and so I think that's why he pushed it. He was like, okay, like this kid has something, you know what I mean?
Crazy.
And so he pushed it, and he coached me until a certain age, until he couldn't, because then it became the dynamic shifted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And he recognized that early on, and I think that was like the best decision was to let hire another goalkeeper coach to coach me.
Did you notice when it changed?
Looking back, yeah. I think it was about like 13.
You were like, man,
Right at puberty.
Yeah, 13 years old, where it was just like my dad had to make that early decision, like, is he going to be my dad or is he going to be my coach?
Yeah.
Have you ever talked to your dad about that? Like how he thought about that?
I haven't.
Yeah.
Very, very little, but maybe not too in depth.
Yeah.
But he was definitely aware for sure.
Yeah, that's so interesting because, all our kids, like I said, our oldest kids are 7 years old, and so we're not there yet. So right now we're in that stage where our kids think we're probably the best
person
people,
they know.
the person they know, right? It's
Right.
like sometimes I'm just trying to be like, hey, go hang out with somebody else. Like you're always there. And it's interesting, when that changes, it's going to be, I think, kind of sad. But so did you have siblings that also played goalkeeper, or was it just you?
I'm an only child.
Only child.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah.
A lot of attention.
Yeah, a lot of attention. All the talent goes right there.
Question for you. I know this is like off the beaten path. I just got to know now. Did you play any other sports while you were growing up, or was it just
only in recess? Like only at school. I played football, basketball. I always had hands, so I was a as a little kid, I was a decent wide receiver.
Yeah.
Nice.
But other than that, no, I was all about soccer.
Dang. So how do you feel? Do you feel like kids need to play multiple sports to make it, or do you feel like kids could take your path and only play one sport?
It depends. I think it's good for kids because, like, looking back, I wish I would have done maybe more basketball.
Yeah.
Just because like the footwork and the agility, and like especially for a goalkeeper is massive. So like I play a lot of basketball. I try and play a lot of basketball now, especially in like an off season.
Okay.
But yeah, I do sometimes wish that. But also, there's no harm in putting everything into one sport as well. I think it depends. Definitely like my dad knew soccer was it for me. It wasn't going to be another sport. So I think that's why I just stayed in soccer. But
Got you.
Yeah, I think the foundations, like the athletic foundations of another sport, could have benefited me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a topic that we talk about frequently on here, and I think you're right, man. I really do think it depends on the kid,
Yeah.
right? Like some kids, they really would benefit from playing multiple sports. I think that I'm biased towards basketball, but I honestly think that everybody should play at least a little basketball, like you said.
I agree.
You're in a confined space. It takes an incredible amount of agility. The most athletic people in the world are people who can stop on a dime, right? It's not the person who can run the fastest.
Yeah.
It's the person who can stop and cut. And you're getting the most out of that consistently in basketball because everybody is consistently moving all the time.
And using your mind as well.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yep.
Yeah.
So that hand-eye coordination and just also utilizing your feet throughout the entire game. I think it's massive. So, I put my kid in basketball.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll be interested to see how our kids do.
First game next week.
We
Right?
got our first basketball game. We're playing church basketball.
Cool.
It's a big thing down here. I don't know if you knew that, but
I did.
I didn't honestly, dude. I'm not from here, and I had no idea how big of a deal church basketball was until I
It's
got
serious.
here.
My buddy, he's from here, and he told me all about the youth league basketball, church basketball.
Yeah. So we've got.
Legit.
I think we've got our first. I don't know if we're gonna be
I
able
don't
to
even
play
know the
because we've
schedule.
got that tournament, but.
Mm.
Yeah. So, all right. So you played goalie, and you made it to. When did you start playing club? At what point?
12 years. About 11.
Okay.
About 11 years old, in North Carolina.
And going into that club, did the coach of that team know that you were a goalkeeper? Or did you just go in there and be like, "Hey, I'm goalkeeper. I'm trying out to be goalkeeper."
Yeah.
I mean, how do tryouts look like? When you're 12 years old and you're trying out for a team.
Yeah.
Did you have to run through all the drills like everybody else?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember it pissed me off because I couldn't juggle like the other kids.
Oh man.
So I just really I'm very good with my feet because I just didn't like not being good.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I showed up and they're like, "All right, do 10 juggles." And I'm like the only one who can't do it. And I'm like, okay, now I need to get right.
We're gonna fix that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. And then you said that first club you said was in North Carolina, and you were there for how long?
I was only in North Carolina for like a year and a half.
Okay. So with all this moving around, you're in your formidable years, and you're having to, a lot of people are developing friendships, especially at that age where you want to be, you have a certain group of friends and then you're moving on and you're constantly having to make new friends. Do you think that's something that helped you as you got older? I guess as you got into your professional career?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like that's adaptability, right? And so that ability to walking into any environment and, find friends and make connections was huge because I've done so much traveling since then, and I've been a part of so many different teams and clubs. So I think it was a massive, massive part of my development.
So we get to, through middle school, you're down in Florida at that point.
I'm down in Miami.
All right. So when you were talking about when you were in Florida, you were doing all these camps, you were doing the worldwide Disney, all that stuff. So you're playing at a pretty high level, and that's all, early teen, preteen, right?
Right.
And you said you didn't make your high school soccer team. So how did that happen? If you're playing at such a high level in club, how do you not make your high school soccer team?
Yeah. So I remember I was 12 years old, and I was a part of this club down in South Florida. It was called Weston, and they used to have, I don't know if they still run this tournament, but it used to be called the Dannon Cup. And the Dannon Cup was basically a bunch of teams would play against each other, and the winner of these teams would get to represent like the U.S. at a U12 level and go to another country. And so the trip was to go to Poland.
Oh, nice.
And so the day before we're supposed to go, they dropped me as a keeper. And I was like 11 years old, and that took a toll. I was like, like my first, I think.
You said the day before you were supposed to leave?
Like 2 days before we were supposed to go. The team left. So they only took one keeper. Yeah. So that was rough. And I remember I ended up going with the U13s, and we ended up winning like the whole Disney tournament.
So you played a level up.
Right. Because I was pissed. I was like, I didn't go in this tournament, and I ended up like being the backup for this U13 team and played a couple games, but we ended up winning the Disney tournament. And that was super cool. So I think that was like my first real like piece of adversity really early on.
Mhm.
What was the reasoning? Why did they drop you?
Honestly, I honestly I don't know. Like I really don't know. They were just like what they told us was, we want to take an extra field player instead of an extra keeper. That was their reasoning. Whatever the truth, I don't know, but that was what they told us.
So if the goalie would have got hurt, they would have been screwed because they wouldn't have had a goalie.
They would have just put it like a field player in. And it sucks because at that time, I like right now, a lot of those guys who went on the trip, they were all like U16 national team.
Oh wow!
And so like that's where they got scouted. Was at that that huge tournament, and like I missed out on that. So yeah, it was a tough blow.
But it looks like it gave you extra motivation to go harder, on your craft.
So it did. And so eventually I moved to Virginia, and I was a part of this club. Annandale, and so I was with them, and I was doing good with them. And there was a couple good keepers, honestly, at my high school. Virginia, like that DMV area, has really good soccer players. Like the soccer up there, the soccer up there is good. And so there was a couple good keepers, and I didn't even make varsity, and I didn't even make JV.
Oh wow!
And it was like, damn, that was a little bit of a shock. Like even my dad was shocked. Like, what do you mean? He was pissed. I mean, what do you mean you didn't make high school?
Right.
And then about 6 months later, I ended up making DC United's pre-academy team.
Okay, man. You gotta rewind. Okay,
so much going on.
I'm just jumping, huh?
Yeah, I know that. So you didn't make your high school team, and you didn't quit playing soccer. So what made you go try over DC United?
My mom signed me up. I didn't want to go.
Whoa, okay.
My mom signed me up. I actually, that's a blessing. I didn't make my high school. I'm thinking, why am I going to make DC United's academy?
Yeah.
And my mom believed in me. She just signed me up. And I was, DC United, like these MLS academies take a lot of kids from like recruiting.
Everywhere.
The tryouts are to make money, in all honesty. And I was the only kid from the tryout that made the team.
Wow.
Man.
Yeah.
So like you're the only kid that make it. Your mom signed you up. Your parents are motivating you. At that moment when you made the team, what did you feel like? Man, like this is meant to be.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, like it was meant to be, because my dream was always to be a pro.
Got you.
Ever since I was young, and my parents were on the same page with that.
That's
so
awesome.
they did what they could to help me.
So what did the players on the high school team think when you made the DC United Academy team?
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of tension. Like,
sounds like there was a lot of politics there.
I'm coming back to school and like, yo, you see me DC United, my guy.
Right. I mean, they were definitely like, I'm sure they were talking a little smack behind my back, because it's like, you didn't make the high school team, now you're on DC. So I definitely had, like, in these years, I'm starting to develop a big chip on my shoulder. Like, I believe in myself. I'm gonna do me and show you guys like why I made DC. You know what I mean?
So talk about your experience at DC United.
My experience at DC United was good. It was a really like crucial time for my development. I was about 15. And so I was, working with MLS development, academy coaches. Like they really helped me a lot, especially in my maturity of the game, like how I read the game as a goalkeeper. At that age, it becomes more than just saving a ball. It's like, how do you read the game? How can you, communicate and organize to your defenders? And even like starting to play out of the back, that started to become a thing, heavily in 2013 and up 2014, 2015, I was really starting to play with my feet. And 6 months after being on the pre-academy, I got, I was like officially with the academy and stuff. And so I think a big part, like going back to all the moving I did, it taught me how to like learn very quickly. You know what I mean? And so I was able to pick up, and that was something that one of the coaches, my goalkeeper coach at the time, expressed to me. He was like, one of your biggest strengths is how quick you can learn. And
that's awesome.
That's awesome.
For sure.
That's exactly what you want to hear.
Yeah, exactly. And so I kind of just kept going up and up. Like eventually I was training up with the U16s, and then I was training up with playing games with the U18s.
At 15.
At 15. And then at 16, I finally was able to train. I trained with DC United's first team.
Wow.
And
that's
that
awesome.
was like, whoa. Like all these guys were talking smack in high school, and now I'm leaving class early to go play.
To go play
You
with
know,
those
I'm
things,
I'm thinking, oh man, this is sick.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
God,
saying?
that's awesome.
That's just a whole blessing in disguise that you didn't make the high
100%.
school
It really
team.
is.
Because-
Wow, you just never know.
Right.
And even like you said, that's such a time of development. You got the way better coaching there than no offense to any high school coaches, but like if there's a academy level or a MLS level coach that's able to specifically train you on goalkeeping versus high school, at least my high school coach.
Yeah.
We didn't like have a goalkeeping coach.
Or
Exactly.
even the club team that you
Yeah,
were on.
yeah.
You know? Like
Exactly.
what was the biggest difference you seen between the club level that you were at and then the academy at DC United level? Like, was it coaching or was it like all of the above? Like,
that's a good question. It's definitely coaching. You know, there's more individual time. You know, for development. I remember in MLS Academy, they take their sessions out of the day that, like on a Tuesday, they'll spend IDP, like individual development work, and so that's where they can really like work with, like, for example, like a left winger on crossing. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to get that kind
specifics.
You're not going to get that kind of attention in club. But I also know a lot of good club players who are better than academy, and I was a club player. Like, it's a lot. There is a bit of politics involved, but that, and I also would say the decision making. That's really what they teach you, is like when to make those right decisions. When to turn. When to keep it simple. Like when you win the ball, recovering the ball. Like these principles of the game.
yeah.
Instead of just like scoring a goal.
Yeah.
Just the small things. Yeah.
That's what we just got done talking about before this podcast. Like our kids understanding positioning, the nuances of the game. Because I know they're young at 7 and 8, but like when they play against older teams, like these kids know how to move the ball and spacing, and our kids are trying to learn that. And it's like that's the next step in their evolution.
We were talking about like just soccer knowledge and movement off the ball and making those split decisions of what to do when, and that's going to come, but that's something that they can start. All right, we feel like our kids are pretty advanced and are learning really, really quickly, and we think that's the next step, is learning those small little things, like take a touch here instead of just taking a touch, or backpedal to create your own space and then go down the line. Whatever it is, just these small little things that help with the decision making.
Yeah, absolutely. Those small, it's all about how you can set yourself up for success. And that can happen on a very like micro level, just from like taking 2 extra steps back.
Right.
And, make sure you're receiving with the, with the front foot. All these things are just going to make you a better player.
Yep.
Right. And I feel like as a goalkeeper, I see a goalkeeper as kind of like the quarterback of the team, because you can see the entire field. So you can really direct the players in front of you. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. This guy's been here all game long. You need to be over here, whatever. And we, at this point, we just don't have that. We don't have that quarterback on the field. So I think once we do develop a goalkeeper, so you are a firm believer that you think that if you love goalkeeping, go for it at an early age,
definitely,
and forget about playing out in the field.
Definitely,
yeah,
definitely. So I always I love playing with the ball, always. Even after getting home from training, after dinner and homework and all that, I would make sure I would go get touches on the wall. I would go outside and just kick a ball, because I also just enjoyed having I was always a keeper. I wanted to be on the outfield, but I would just I was made to be a keeper type of thing.
Right.
But I love playing. I love having the ball at my feet.
It's the passion.
Exactly. It's the passion. And so definitely, goalkeeping, that part can be taught, those touches, but the goalkeeping part is there's fundamentals that need to be in place at an early age if you want to be a great goalkeeper. Sure. And there's always exceptions. Like we have Matt Turner as an exception. But you can also, from a technical standpoint, I can see he's lacking technique because he started goalkeeping later versus somebody who starts goalkeeping at 10 years old. They have a fundamental technique that eventually gets to a point you can't necessarily be taught.
Right. That's awesome. So talk about, you said you started playing up as you were going through DC United, and talk about the change, how puberty helped. Once you hit puberty, do you feel like that really set you over the top as far as your skill level, or do you feel like you kind of just gradually continue to just get better?
I think it was more gradual.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it was more gradual. Especially being a goalkeeper, I think it takes time to like get into your body.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like a lot of the time, like coaches used to say that, like you're not filled into your body yet.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like I was a bit clumsy, or like maybe a bit like clumsy is a good word, goofy or something. And then, you know, you get older, and when puberty hits and you start filling into your body, you know, you find more balance, you know, you find like crisper movements, stuff like that. Yeah.
Right.
That, so it makes a difference, but it even took longer. Like even through college, I was still developing like and getting like fitting into my body 100%. Versus I think field players, that happens a bit earlier.
Sure. Yeah. Makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of awareness that has to happen as a goalkeeper, especially with that huge thing behind you.
Yeah. So you got to learn how big you are, learn how big the goal is, learn how far you can jump, how high you can extend, and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
How quick you can fall to the ground.
I
You
mean,
know.
we were playing goalkeeper with our kids the other day, and I had my awareness of where the goal was when we were playing. I was
Mine is bad.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. So talk about, you know, you get through, you're in your high school years, you're playing for DC United, you're still going to your high school and cutting out of class early. Did you ever do the whole online thing, or you always went to school?
I always went to school
Uh-huh.
until my senior year. That's when I ended up moving to Arizona, and I joined a residency program. It was called Barca Academy.
Nice.
And so that's where like I was doing school. It was like a brick and mortar school. And so I was doing school with everyone on my team.
Okay.
Everything was online, and,
Gotcha.
and we trained.
So how was that? So did you move to Arizona because of your family, or did you move there for the program for
by
soccer?
myself, yeah. Just
wow.
for soccer.
So you said goodbye to mom and dad?
Yeah. I literally, I was still like, I got to Arizona, I just turned 17.
And tell us about that mentally, man. Like, so you're going to leave your high school, you're going to leave your family, your friends, and go chase your dream. Like, was it a hard decision for you, or was it like, yo, I'm gone?
It was an easy decision.
Yeah.
It was an easy decision. Like, that's how bad I wanted it.
Yeah.
But it was difficult for sure. Like, I got there and I'm like, wait, what did I just do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know anybody.
Yeah. Like, this is tough. This is really tough. Being away from home, first time. It was.
So were you living at the school, or were you living with a family?
We were living at the school. So it made it easier because everyone was living. Basically, everyone was living at the school. So it was like a bunch of,
kids.
Teenagers just living together trying to like chase their dream.
Yeah.
So that made it an unbelievable experience.
That's crazy. So
Yeah.
did you guys like have a leader, like a dad or something, or
Yeah.
coach that was like, hey, let's go to bed, let's do homework, stuff like that? Like,
Yeah. We had our like, it was our RA. Like
I was about to say, it's
Yeah.
like mini
It's like
college.
college.
Yeah. It was like our
RA.
RA, and her name was Gwen. She was excellent. Like,
Nice.
She was like the mom.
Okay.
Yeah. Making sure we always like,
Do what you're supposed to do.
yeah, be nice to the teachers, we're a bunch of boys in class, like all with your team,
Yeah.
you mess around a lot, but it was fun.
And so tell us like how you went from like Barcelona, your time there, to going to college like that. You were there for what, 2 or 3 years?
1 year.
1 year.
1 year. Okay.
And then you went to college.
And then I went to college. Yeah. So my time at DC United, I was getting looked at by some really good colleges. Like I was talking to Stanford, and at the time they were just national champions.
Oh wow.
And I didn't end up going there because I didn't have a 4.0, and I had a good GPA. It was like a 3.7. I did decent on the SATs, but they were like, their standard is very high, academic and athletic. And so I left DC because a little bit of it was politics. They brought in a keeper from the national team, and I knew at that moment, like, they're going to play this guy regardless of what I do. And so that was like a decision that my dad also helped me reach. My parents helped me reach, where it was like, we have to find something else, because I need to be playing.
Yeah.
Games is, especially as a keeper, the best thing you can do is just play games, like make plenty of mistakes, because that's like, it takes, our maturity happens later in the game.
Right.
And so I ended up going to, when I was in Arizona, I suffered a couple injuries. And so I missed some key tournaments to get like really recruited. And so I somehow like got lucky, and I found the university. I found South Carolina. And so my parents, and we were still living in Virginia at the time. And so I didn't have a scholarship or anything like that. And so in order to like afford it, my parents, we moved to get in-state tuition here to Greenville.
Nice.
And so I went to USC for for 4 years. And that was, I mean, USC was really good. I mean, I faced a lot of adversity there. I redshirted my freshman year. And then I remember having a talk with one of the coaches. Well, he was a coach at USC for quite some time. And it was like the end of the year meetings in the springtime. And he told me, he was like, listen, we think you're, great guy, like great kid. You fit this culture really well, but like, we don't know if you could play at this level. And so hearing that, I was like, wow. He was like, basically, you can leave if you want. And I was 18 years old at the time.
He said that during your redshirt season?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This was like the end of spring.
Okay.
Jeez.
Yeah. And so I basically told him, not only can I play at this level, but I can play at a level higher, and I'll show it to you.
Wow.
And he didn't like that comment. And so I didn't play at all my sophomore year. And everyone is telling me like, you should transfer. And I took it personal. Like I wanted, like I said, now this chip on my shoulder is still developing. And so I really was like, I'm going to show you.
Yeah.
And so junior year is where I just kind of finally I was able to get my start, and I started my junior year. And then we had a whole new coach my senior year.
Oh my gosh.
And and he was tough. Really tough guy. Really, really tough coach. And I ended up getting benched for a freshman.
Oh,
my senior year. So at this point, I'm thinking like, it's soccer for me. You know what I mean? I don't know if I, can continue, because it's taking a toll, but I keep going. I keep, pushing through, and eventually I get my starting job back, and I'll finish my time at South Carolina. And we never did anything super special at South Carolina. South Carolina was never really a ranked team in the country. And I'm thinking, I'm a senior. How am I going to get to be pro to where I'm at? You know what I mean? And so I end up at Asheville, North Carolina, playing for Asheville City, the USL2.
Got you.
USL2 league. And that was huge. Like I had a coach who believed in me. I had a coach who like really saw what I could be. And it was everything for me. Like that changed my confidence around, that put me on the map. And I was able to find an amazing school in North Carolina, and another coach who believed in me, another program that believed in me at Elon.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was just amazing. That was an amazing season, amazing group of guys.
So
that's a crazy journey.
That is that's a wild journey.
It is, man.
Emotional.
All those.
Yeah.
What did you do to, when as far as your training, your attitude, how did you continue to push when basically the coaching staff is like, you're not our guy? What did you do extra to get you to that starting position? Was it just extra training? Was it extra time in the gym? Was it more? Was it more mental training? Like, what did you do?
That's a good question. Because I had to be real with myself. Like, regardless of what I thought of myself or what, I understood that if I want to play, I need to find a way for the coach to see me fit to play. And so that takes a lot of humbling. Like I had to humble myself and realize I just need to get better. And I actually, this is I think a key part that I forgot to mention, but my dad early on, I think during my time at DC, he had me set up with a sports psychologist.
Okay. Yeah.
So this mental training really, I really bumped it up now going into college. And this mental training took me to a different level.
That's crazy.
100%. It taught me how to deal with the controllables, how to have a growth mindset, and a bunch of other characteristics that you need in order to be a pro. And so, yeah, it was.
That's awesome. It's funny, like all this stuff that when you turn pro, you start to get, they provide you with a nutritionist, they provide you with a sports psychologist, they provide you with a personal trainer and all this stuff. But now you're seeing it earlier and earlier and earlier. These kids are getting these access to these things, and I think I think if you're an aspiring even collegiate athlete, I think probably getting in with a sports psychologist earlier is very bad. I mean, talk to parents about that kind of thing. Because you get to a certain point, probably 13, 14, 15, and that's when 15, 16 is when your kid really has to decide, am I going to take this sport somewhere, or am I just doing this for fun?
For fun, yeah.
Right? And at that point, do you think that's when maybe you should start with a sports psychologist.
I think so. I mean, to all the parents, I think that's the best thing you could do.
Yeah.
That's the best thing you could do for your kid, especially if they want to be a pro. It's because like the amount of, now I'm older, I realize everything I went through was to prepare me for what I'm going through.
That's crazy. That's
you know
awesome.
what I mean?
Yeah.
But it takes like a lot of mental strength, and even beyond, like even where I'm going. And if you look at all these guys, in the English Premier League, La Liga, MLS, it's not the best players.
Yeah.
It's the ones that didn't give up.
Right.
Those are the ones that make it. And so having that sports psychologist to like help implement those, like those characteristics of like relentlessness and having that mindset where, I had to really just like enjoy the game for me and not base it off my coach and what he's happy with.
Got you.
Because then you limit yourself.
Wow.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that can be very like devastating to a kid, especially developing. Like I think so many coaches make that mistake of not allowing the kid to express himself. Like this is like they need to be making mistakes. They need to be learning. That's the only way to learn. And if you don't give them that environment to do so, now you play scared, and you'll never play to your potential if you play scared. Never.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think we were kind of talking about that earlier. You see these different coaching styles, and every player is different. Some kids love the screamers. Some kids can't stand the screamers, and it's up to the coach to understand each individual player and how to communicate with that player. And I feel like some of these coaches, a skill of being a coach is being able to adapt to each individual on their player to get the most out of them, right? Because you can't coach every single player the exact same way. Like, my son, he might really, really love if the coach is, Reagans, get over here, and Porter might be like, oh my God, why is he screaming at me?
Right.
Right.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I agree. It's like, it's up to the coach to have that, be able to adapt to each kid. Each kid is different. Each kid needs certain things. And, you even see that at the highest level too. Like the best coaches, Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola, like they have this.
Yeah,
they have
for
this
sure.
quality,
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think sports psychology is so interesting, and you're right, man. Because once you get to a certain level, everybody's good, and we know that. Like we know that everybody's good. So what separates the top players from the players who drift off? And I really do think it is everything that's in between the ears. Because at that point, you know how to play, you have the skills. What are you going to do with it?
Exactly.
100%. Yeah, we've talked about that before. Just whenever we talk to somebody else, it was when you went to college, what was the biggest difference? What was the biggest change? And it was whenever they were in high school, they were the best one on the team. And then now, whenever they're in college, every one of those kids was the best one on the team. And now everybody's good.
Right. I got to play together.
Yeah.
Right. And that happens at the next level too.
Like
you see a lot of guys, they're the best on the college team.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it never stops. It never stops.
I like that word you use, controllables, So when you want to, control something in your life, like how did you deal with also missing out on things as a, a youth sports, athlete? Because, you miss out on a lot. Like there's things that you're going to miss out to get to your goal. So how did you deal with that as a youngster?
That was tough. Definitely. Especially in high school, like I was always training extra, always. Whether it was, I had a private, we would drive and I would have like private goalkeeper training as well. Or I would just go to the wall, and bounce a ball. I would never, I would miss out on a lot of like, the parties in high school or doing fun things, but I was okay with that.
Yeah.
Because I always knew where I wanted, I always knew where it was like a tunnel vision. Like I always knew where I wanted to go. And I think, I think eventually, the universe, God, it rewards you in the end. Like I think you'll have those experiences. It's just not when you want them, or at right now.
Yeah, not the right time.
Right.
That makes sense, man. So you're just really staying focused on your goal, not letting anything. And again, that's where probably that sports psychologist helps a lot too.
Yeah,
I really am I really do think that is huge. I think that should be something that's more talked about. For these kids who are trying to reach the next level. I just think it's something that if parents, you parents right now, they're in all different avenues, right? You're getting your extra training. as far as technical training. You're traveling for all these sports. But the biggest thing that happens to these youth athletes is burnout. That's the number one thing, right? Like, you're investing so much into your kids for their happiness, because that's what this is all about, right? Like, the majority of them aren't even going to play in college. So, I mean, you're really doing this for their happiness. But if they do show that commitment or that skill where they're definitely going to at least play in college, I do think that's something that parents should look into. I know I'm going to.
It's an interesting concept, I think, just because it's not something I've even thought about at all for why. I mean, obviously because he's 7, but it's just I wouldn't have even thought of that. So it's cool to talk about.
Cool to hear.
Yeah. So when I was in college, I remember I had a sports psychology class, and that was in the early 2000s. So sports psychology had just come on the map, and I was at University of Michigan, and Tom Brady. He was probably one of the first big quarterbacks that really utilized the sports psychologist, and his grit from being what he was in college, which wasn't much, to becoming the best NFL quarterback of all time. I think sports psychology, and he even talks about it, it played a huge role in that. So I know I'm hounding a lot on sports psychology.
I like it. It's also a topic we haven't talked about.
So. Yeah, no, it's huge. Like, that's the difference of why I made it to where I am. Like, without having that, I wouldn't. I truly believe I wouldn't be where I'm at. Yeah.
All right, so it'll turn off in a minute. Don't worry about it. The water fountain.
I was wondering what that was.
Yeah. So
USL.
Yeah, talk about. So you were at Elon. Right, you played a year there, and
played a semester,
and then we get drafted.
I got drafted.
Talk about that, man. Like, that's got to be a very surreal moment.
That was surreal. Yeah, that was surreal. Going into Elon, it was. It felt almost like, so South Carolina had the best facilities. We weren't maybe the best team, but the facilities, the stadium were state of the art. I mean, that's what SEC football brings. And so going to Elon at the beginning almost felt like a step back.
Oh,
wow. And I had to, again, like, humble myself and realize, like, hey, this might be a step back to go 2 steps forward. You know what I mean? And so it ended up being an unbelievable semester. Like, I had 11 clean sheets out of 17 games.
Wow.
Nice. I broke the school record.
I'm about to say there had to be a record there, right?
Yeah. Awesome. I broke the school record. I was, I put myself on the map. They were talking, talking about me in the NCAA, whatever, all these lists. And I was never on a kid who was on these, like, top drawer soccer lists. Yeah. I was never on these types of lists. And so even seeing my name, it was cool, but it didn't mean much. Like, at the end of the day, I still had, there's always more to do, always more that I wanted. And so after the season, I didn't even know. So I get a message from a goalkeeper coach at FC Cincinnati, and they invite me down to a combine with a bunch of keepers. And that was a great experience. Like, that's a top organization, great experience, learned a lot. And afterwards, I speak with the head goalkeeper coach, and he's like, listen, you weren't somebody that we were like, all right, let's see about him. And kind of like just invited him on a whim. And he was like, you really surprised us.
Nice.
And I was like, that's great to hear, especially from an MLS goalkeeper coach. Yeah. And so they were like, what's your plan? I'm like, listen, I don't, as of now, I'm going back to Elon. That's my plan. And then about 2 days before the draft, I find out that I'm in the draft. Like, I didn't even know how I found out I was in the draft.
So you have to enter the draft?
Don't you have to enter?
Somebody, like, I think one of my coaches entered my names.
Really?
Into the draft.
You not have to have an agent if you enter the draft?
No, you don't have to. You don't have to have an agent, because if a certain amount of MLS teams are interested in you, I think your name automatically goes.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Into the draft. And so that's I'm assuming that's what happened. And so I'm watching the draft, and I really, like, I didn't have anybody, I know I heard interest from, like, Philadelphia Union. They were like, we can invite you in preseason, but we're not going to draft you, this and that. So I really wasn't expecting much. I was watching the draft, and then eventually after the first round, I ended up turning it off. And then I get a text from my buddy saying congrats.
What? Come on, man.
Okay, I don't know anything about I'll admit, I don't know anything about the MLS draft. So this sounds very foreign. Like, don't they have to call you and say, hey,
for the first round,
we're picking you
for the first round? They do.
Okay.
For the first round, they do. So, like, you see the NFL draft. Like, that's how the first round is.
Okay.
And then after that,
it's like they just kind of teams just pick, because soccer is way different. You know,
Right.
it's not. The draft is not like the NFL draft.
Yeah.
You're not making life-changing money after you get drafted.
Not,
you know, you're not.
Yet, not
What?
Yet.
Yeah. And so, they basically, so they had like a whole program. You know, they're running the guys like going down with the list of names. Like, all right, and you know, for example, like LA Galaxy selects so and so or whatever. And so after that's only for the first round, and then after the first round, you know, it's basically like updates. Like, all right, this team. And so I turned it off, and I get a text, and I see that the Timbers drafted me, and I had not heard from them whatsoever.
Man.
Nothing.
So you're on the team.
That was just surreal. That was
still.
Were they at that combine?
No. So they just
You were just the next person on the draft board.
Yeah, I was the next person, and then obviously I found out when I went. You know, I built a really good relationship with the goalkeeper coach there, and he was just like, "Yeah, you were." I had a list of goalkeepers I was looking at to draft to bring in, and you were the first one we wanted.
That's awesome.
That's so
That is
cool.
wild.
So I want to hear about the conversation when you called your mom and dad and told them what happened.
Yeah.
Well, when I got drafted, it was in my house, so I was with the draft. So
Okay.
they were there, and I mean, they couldn't. They were just. It was very emotional.
Yeah. All the years of hard work,
Yeah.
believing, you know, and you pushing to your goal, and them pushing you too, and you made it.
Yeah. I mean, it was a surreal moment. Like and it happened so quick. You know, I didn't know I was drafted. I didn't even know I was on the draft.
So what were you doing? You turned the TV off. Would you just went in your room, play the video game?
Well, I just went upstairs. I was just like, all right, you know, this is done. I'm gonna just, I don't know,
go back to college.
I was planning on going back to college, and doing another year at Elon. And then I found out, and I was hesitant to go because I was like, you're not. So the way the draft works, you're not guaranteed.
So you got to go prove yourself, and they can say, "Hey, go home."
If you're a first round draft pick, you're basically guaranteed a contract. But I wasn't guaranteed, and so I had to decide: do I risk my eligibility, or do I go to Portland?
A big decision.
And that was a huge decision.
Once you go pro, you can't go back.
Exactly.
Oh wow.
Exactly. And so I end up going to Portland, and I'm stuck in a. You know, fortunately for me, one of my buddies from Asheville that I played with ended up getting drafted to Portland too.
Nice.
And so it was good already knowing somebody, you know, and we basically are in a hotel for 2 months straight trying to earn a contract. And it was extremely difficult. That was one of the most difficult things.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, I was injured after my season at Elon, know, after all this training and stuff, like my body just needed a break. And then now I'm about to go on the biggest thing of my life, you know, everything I've been training for, and I'm injured, you know what I'm saying? And I had to play through that. Like, you get up there, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Yeah. They don't care if you're hurt. Yeah.
They don't care. Like, you're here. Like, it's up to you, man. Good luck. And so I end up, you know, going through preseason with the first team with Portland. That was an unbelievable experience. And I ended up, you know, signing a second team deal with Portland Timbers too.
That's awesome.
And no, it was. I mean, that was amazing. Those 2 months though, we suffered. I mean, living out of a suitcase in a foreign city.
So it was a 2-month trial. Was that just with the team, or were you guys playing like friendlies, or what were you doing?
Yeah, so we were playing friendlies. I got thrown in right with the first team. It was like sink or swim.
Oh, Jesus.
I got thrown in, and I'm, you know, training with a guy who was, you know, ex-US national team. You know, he's still in the league now, and I'm just like, damn, they're like, this is intense. Yeah, like this is intense, and I'm just trying to stay afloat.
Yeah. Well, other than the injury, did you feel like, if you weren't injured, do you feel like you were like up to par with this guy? Like, all right, I can play with this guy, or did you feel like you're like, this is a whole nother level, and I'm gonna have to get like used to this and do extra training?
The short answer is no, but I knew I could be.
Mm-hmm.
That I knew in that moment, no, but I knew because, right, you know, now I go back. Remember what my coach said at DC? He's like, your biggest thing is that your ability to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I know that I could just give me a couple of weeks, a couple of months, and I'll adapt.
Like, but walking in is a no, but you knew that you could get there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I saw that first training session. I said, damn,
Yeah.
you know, this is a good level. And they even gave me a chance in preseason, like threw me in a preseason game friendly. And
Nice.
that was like a sink or swim moment.
Wow.
I did.
Jesus.
How did you do?
I did enough.
Yeah.
I did enough. I
Nice.
did enough.
Wow.
I played good. I did enough to, like, hey, they were really interested in me. And so that's why I ended up getting a second team deal.
So tell me how the players received you on the team.
Yeah.
Like, like you're coming to take my job. Like, are they nice to you, or you're like, are they cool with you, or it's like, yo, like this is business. You know, I'm trying to kill you on the field.
Yeah, it's business.
Jeez.
Yeah,
so,
it's business. Everything changed. You know, it was like a game that I love to play, and now it's like people are putting food on the table.
Yeah.
Right. And so now it's like,
so there's
it's
no
a job.
friends. No friends.
No, not especially when you first get there. You got to earn respect. You got to earn everything.
So after you got your contract, then people are like, hey man, what's up? Like, no, not even then.
No, not even then. And that may be like, I've heard things in the league and stuff, but I know, you know, Timbers is a very, they're a tough team.
Yeah.
They're just like known to be a tough team, you know? And so like the guys are, I mean, eventually I love all the guys there are great, you know what I mean now, but in the moment I was like, you had to earn it. And so it started with like, I just went back to basics. I was first one in, last one out. First one in, last one out for months until like I could see how the dynamic changed and how I started to earn
the respect.
Yeah.
Was there any hazing?
No.
He wouldn't tell us that anyway.
That's right. That's true. Can't let the secrets out.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. So how many goalkeepers are on your team?
For the second team, there was about 3 of us.
Okay.
And then the first team last year, there was 4. This year, there was 3.
Jeez. So like when you're on the team, are they just bringing in new goalkeepers all the time? Like, hey man, somebody can come take your job, like trying them out, or
sometimes, yeah. I mean, that definitely happened. Not all the time where they're bringing in, but you know, there's always like an academy kid. You know, there's always like the local kid who's back from college. They want to see how he is. You know, so they bring in. But for the most part, I mean, you know, you're just competing against the guys on contract.
What is the difference of level from team 1 to team 2?
Big. I mean, tremendous difference. I mean, the maturity is the biggest one. The maturity. You realize that it's like, you know, it's roles. Like everyone has their roles. Everyone knows their role in the team, and whoever can do that role the best is the reason why they're starting.
So do you feel like there's less politics at this level?
No, I think politics are the same. They differ, but they're the same at every
you.
level. Honestly, you know, there's always going to be something. You know,
but you just concentrate on working hard and letting
control. Control what you can.
Yeah,
you know,
the controllables.
The controllables. Like at the end of the day, you just have to, you know, control what I can. That was my attitude, my effort, and how I showed up. You know, and it was difficult. There's like. It went from, you know, being a college player, you know, you're training for a certain amount of time, like a 3-month season, you have the summer, and then the spring you're kind of off. But in the pro level, it's day in, day out, every single day for 10 months. It's a complete different toll on your body. Like you have to be able to keep up mentally, physically.
Tell the people like a typical day, like, you know, because like I'm thinking like, hey, you go to training, then you go home and chill the rest of the day. It's like, is this something that starts at 7 a.m? It's a job and you're leaving at 3-4 o'clock every day? Like,
different guys, you know, do it differently. And I'm not going to say it, like there's guys who the best player on the team and they may be the first one out, you know, like that stuff, you know, there's always guys like that. But for me, it was, you know, I always like to get up early. I always started my day with like Bible, you know, a little Bible study.
That's great.
You know, get to training. I didn't get it dependent. My first year I got there a lot earlier. My second year I had a couple injuries my second year, so it was a bit different of a year. But yeah, you know, just get to the facility at a certain time, and you have your breakfast. You know, you have you might have some team meetings. You know, film that you have to go over, and then you know you get in the gym. You get ready for training, step on the field, and you go until about like max noon, right? And then after that, it's like you probably have a gym workout afterwards. And then some guys stay longer on the field. Some guys stay longer in the gym. You know, you have lunch, and you know you could stay as long as you want. There's recovery, so ice tub, hot tub, sauna, stuff like that. So I always like to do that stuff.
Taking care of your body.
Yeah, take care of your body. So usually I get out of there like latest around like 3.
Okay.
Between like lunch and everything. So then you have that whole second part of the day. That's the most difficult part because now it's a lot of time on your hands. You know.
Now, do y'all travel as much as the first team does?
Yeah, the same. I mean, the only thing is the first team travels east to the East Coast. They play both teams. East and West. Like in the second team, it was only the West Coast teams we played.
Gotcha.
Uh-huh.
So the tournament just got over, right?
Mm-hmm. The playoffs are still going on.
Still going on
Yeah.
for the level 2. I know it's going on for a regular. So level 2 playoffs are still going.
Yeah. I think it's like the final game. I think they're in the final.
Game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dang, man. Like
So-
that's nuts, man.
Yeah, and it starts in January.
Wow, it's a long season.
Right. Yeah, it's a long season. Yeah.
How many games do you guys play in a season?
I think not in a regular season without playoffs, it's like 28.
Yeah.
It's like 2 a month, 3 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So you've done it all, man. Like you started off playing recreational. You played club. You didn't play high school, which is
I
crazy.
didn't. Yeah.
And you played academy, and then college, and then pro. You've literally done everything that a lot of the kids who are listening to this podcast, they dream of doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, talk to that kid. What are the essentials that somebody who wants to fulfill this dream, what do you think are the essentials that they really, as like between, we'll talk about before puberty, what are some essentials that you think that they need to really do or focus on? How important is technical training as opposed to just playing out with your friends?
I would say so. At a young age before puberty, I think the most important thing, you have 100% in training. Maximize that time. You can always get something out of training. Cultivating that mindset was very key. Like I used to be, taking mental reps. If I was on the side, if I wasn't getting reps and I was just on the sideline watching in between reps, I would take some mental reps, or I would find a way to like refocus my attention, and stuff like that. Even younger than that, just give 100% and have fun.
Yeah,
right.
That's simple. Like before puberty, give 100% and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best thing. Like it really, enjoy it with your friends. It's fun. It's supposed to be fun. It's a game, but also it's fun to win. So
yeah,
give 100%. You're not gonna win all the time, but give 100%. That way you don't feel bad when you lose. Like you can at least walk away like, hey, I tried my best.
Yeah,
right. The youth sports scene has even blown up even more. So you're like, what, 24?
24. Yeah.
I mean, it's blown up even more since you were a kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's crazy. These kids are starting at 6, 7 years old, and not just in soccer, but in all other sports, baseball, basketball. They're traveling, they're playing in all these tournaments and everything. How important do you think doing all that stuff is before the age of 14? Do you think some of this is over the top as far as youth sports goes?
It can be. Yeah, it can be. I mean, it becomes over the top when it takes the joy out of the game.
Right.
Like until the age of like 6, I want to say 16, like you should be enjoying the game. 15, you should just be, and you should still enjoy it, but that should be the main focus.
Yeah.
Right.
Because then you're going to be free to make mistakes and still be able to enjoy. And if you're doing all this like stuff, it can be. If it takes away from the essence of the game, then yeah, it can be over the top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
100%. So you are playing at the top level in this country. Talk about where you foresee the United States being in the world scene. As we bring this up every episode because we're so interested to see where soccer is going in the U.S. compared to the rest of the world. Do you think that we're going to be compatible eventually, or where do you see us?
Eventually, but it'll take time. It'll take time.
World Cup's gonna help. 2 years.
The World Cup's gonna be huge, but it'll take even more time. I think the fact that that youth has to pay to play is like,
killing us.
Until that goes away, we'll never be where we want to be in an international level.
That's Mike's soapbox right there.
Yeah, I stand on that hill, man. These other countries play for free and they invest in the grassroots. When they're 6 and 7, it's free for them. You imagine if LeBron James or Tyreek Hill, 6 or 7 years old, got showed a soccer ball instead of a basketball or a football, like where we'd be in America. I mean, in any sport, there's probably a million LeBron Jameses that never got to play basketball because they had to pay to play. I mean,
and you have it's not, you also have the IQ part, where you need to have players, you need to have coaches that know what they're doing. I think so, like, at least I've had plenty of coaches that like, man, you probably shouldn't be coaching. and we're paying, and you're paying them,
and at a high level too,
and
as
at
well.
a high level.
Yeah.
Like it's just it's
sickening.
Yeah, it is, because it really is.
Yeah.
Like in Europe, even in Argentina, this doesn't exist. And that's why you see talent. I mean, and there's other reasons too, right? Like Argentina, Europe, like these kids are trying to get out the street. That's a whole nother thing too. But you could still create absolute ballers and not charge them.
Yeah.
Because now when you start to pay, now you add another aspect of politics to the table.
Yep. I'm paying you. My kid's got to play.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
You get no playing time today. I
Right.
pay you. I mean,
right.
Sucks.
And other people got to sit because of it.
Yeah.
What about the structure of the MLS? The structure of the MLS is structured just like the NBA or NFL, right? It's not like the Premier League where you go up and down. Do you think, if they changed it to more like that, where you can go up and down in a league?
Relegation.
Yeah. Do you think that would be beneficial for U.S. soccer?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I do
I
too.
think so too. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean,
It's the money.
it's the money. Yeah, it's the money. I mean, the MLS is structured as a single entity, just like the NBA. Just like the NFL. Well, no, not just. Yeah, it is. It is the same. The single entity league.
But don't you got to buy into it, right?
But you have to buy into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand. If you want to be a top league, then you should follow what the top leagues do.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Like the Premier League, they have promotion, relegation. It creates a whole different dynamic.
Yeah.
And I think if you start to see that, we'll start to see progress at a faster rate.
For sure. Plus, that would also, create a development type atmosphere for youth sports and soccer if you had something like that.
So, we're about to have the meeting, the American Federation, changing the age group. But we're going to keep it, year. We're going to go by grade level. Like, what do you feel about that? Like, do you think us going to grade level will hurt us internationally, or do you think it might help us,
What do you go to grade level? Like,
so go ahead, Dave.
So, like right now, all our kids are born in 2017. So everybody on our team is 2017. And I think it's been that way since 2017.
Yeah,
they changed it in 2017. Prior to that, it was grade level. So if your birthday fell in between August 1st and July 31st,
yeah, I remember this change.
You were on that team. But now in 2017, they changed it to birth year. So my son is in second grade. Their sons are in first grade because my son is on the older end. He's February of 2017. They're October and December.
I remember growing up when that change happened. I think they need to do it by merit. Like you need to, if the kid is good, he needs to be playing up. The best thing for me,
100%. Preach.
The best thing for me, like I was another part of my development in Florida was I remember being 13 years old, 11, 12 years old and training with 18-year-olds. Like what that did for my development was massive. But if you're limited to your grade year, then you don't have that opportunity. Like if you're good enough to play, you should be playing. Doesn't matter the year. Doesn't matter how old you are. If you're good enough, you're good enough.
Right.
That needs to be the mentality.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree. I mean, and I think, that's another, going back to development of soccer, we don't, in basketball in the United States, you can go to any park and they're playing basketball and they could be 18 years old, but you're a 13-year-old and you want to play and you're playing with these 18 to 23-year-olds in the park. You don't have that really in the United States with soccer. You're not like 13 years old and going to a random park and playing pickup soccer.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think we need to have more soccer fields, whether it's like 11v11 or even just doing like a 5v5 field and have the mini goals or keep it turf or some type of synthetic like that will, or, you have a cage, you could do it in a cage too, whatever it may be. Like that would just, we'll see America where we want to be on the international stage if that happens too.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, shout out to 360. He's kind of doing that over here in Greenville. He's doing Saturday morning pickups for younger kids just so they can go in there and play. And he's got those little 5v5.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I know there's, hopefully more stuff like that, like you said, is going to pop up, which is cool.
Yeah.
A little more unstructured play.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's how a lot of the other countries do, Brazil, Colombia, Argentina is just kids playing in the street.
Right.
Like that. I remember I went in 2019, I went on trial with this team in Argentina and the touches that these kids had, you know, and the fields were like, I was at the time I was at South Carolina. We had a beautiful grass pitch, and these kids were playing on, you know, turf that had concrete busting out of it, and it's like, and they're taking an immaculate, I mean, literally a perfect touch. It's like there's levels to this,
Right.
You know what I mean? If they can do it there, they're going to be able to do it on a carpet.
Perfect.
Right. Well, we'll see what happens over the next, 10, 20 years. I'm excited to see where soccer progresses in the U.S.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
All right, you guys want to get to some rapid fire questions?
Yeah,
man.
All right, let's do it. All right, let's see here. We are getting close to the holidays, believe it or not. It's almost Thanksgiving. So, what is your favorite piece of Thanksgiving pie?
I like pumpkin pie.
Pumpkin pie? All right, got you.
Go ahead.
Me? Yeah. All right. What gives you energy in the morning?
Coffee, mate.
Mate?
I'm Argentine, so I drink mate.
Mate.
Yeah, got you a nice special cup.
I do.
Nice.
Yeah,
I got one too, man. I haven't used it in a while, but
you should. Yeah.
It's
Bring it back
strong.
out.
That jump's strong. It's
Very
strong, dude.
It's cleaner. It's cleaner caffeine.
Okay. And then I had Uruguayan mate.
Yeah,
oh my god, give me a headache, bro.
It's intense.
Yeah. So what do you do when you want to like zone out? No soccer. Like, what's your favorite thing to do outside of that?
I like to read. Honestly, I like to read. Spend time with friends.
Nice.
Yeah, easy.
I'm coming back to rapid fire questions, but real quick, tell us your connection with 90 Plus OT and Juan.
Yeah, Juan's a man. I was actually introduced to him from a teammate from college. I think back in like 2019, and he was just starting. It started. I was playing pickup here at Copa. And I don't think Copa's a thing.
It's not even
gone.
Yeah, which
why
really
we need
sucks.
more places like
right.
that.
Like, I really enjoy that. So I just started playing pickup with him over there, and then I know he started to get going with 90 Plus in the beginning. So he just invited me to a couple of summer camps, winter camps, and then we just developed a relationship from there.
That's awesome.
That's crazy.
That's
Shout out
awesome.
90 OT.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah, he's awesome.
We love the guys over there.
Yeah.
Hey, if you hear this podcast and mention Sideline Talk, you get 10% off your first training session.
Do it.
90 OT.
Do it. All right. If you were not playing professional soccer, what vocation would you want to have?
Business.
Any particular type of business or?
No. Maybe like having a restaurant. That'd be cool.
All right, cool.
That's cool.
All right,
That's
good deal.
Yeah.
All right, you gotta. We give you a black card, unlimited amount. Where do you want to go? Anywhere in the world for a week, no expense.
Ooh, Greece.
Okay.
Hey.
I just got back from Greece.
Now you're
Nice.
speaking Colby's
Yeah.
language.
I went to Greece over the summer.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Where'd you go?
The island of Crete.
Oh, okay.
It's like below. It's that
Yeah.
the big island below Greece.
Okay. Yeah, I'm down to go to Greece.
That's
That'd be
awesome,
sick.
man.
That'd be
That's
sick.
awesome, man.
Yeah, I bet it's cool.
All right, what's the biggest thing you feel like you need to work on this offseason?
It's a good one.
That is a good one. Honestly, probably like plyometrics. Plyometrics, just like it's a bit of a backstory, but goalkeepers, like, they love, especially in America, they love to get you in the gym and doing these, squats, stuff like this. But I had a goalkeeper coach from Poland, and he just absolutely changed the way I thought about training. And he introduced like training with a track and hurdles, and that's all you need, and just being bouncy like that. You know what I mean? Like I already am, but
I'm that quick.
But like the gym and squatting 300 pounds doesn't get you that. It's just doing a lot of like hurdles, jumping, you know, mobility, stuff like that. So that's always something I'm trying to improve. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's great. All right, going off of this holiday season theme, what is your favorite Christmas song?
Honestly, what is it? I think it's called a Christmas song. It's an older one, right?
I don't know. You have to sing it for us.
I
I'm
don't know.
just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right, a Christmas song. I'll go with that.
A Christmas song.
All right.
All right. We don't have a lot of specialty or specialists of goalkeeping. We haven't talked to them a lot, I guess.
We've never talked to a goalkeeper.
Cool.
So what is your big piece of advice for a kid who wants to be pro goalkeeper, like specific to goalkeeping?
Embrace it. Embrace being the villain and being the hero. You know, that's the biggest one. Like, people are gonna hate you. It's part of the job. You know, embrace that. It's fun. I like it. Like, all right, you guys don't like me. Cool.
Let me do the save.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I like that.
All right. My question, what's one piece of advice that you could, your parents were really involved in your career. What's one piece of advice you can give the parents that are over a youth kid right now, like for their kid to be a good parent?
That's a great question. Just be there for them. And don't be afraid to be very tough.
Yeah.
Like my dad was very tough on me. Very tough.
Look where it got you.
Look where it got me. He also was there, always there for me though.
Yeah.
He always had my back, but he was also extremely tough. That balance was, I think, crucial.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about that real quick before we end here? So I want to know, because they always say that the biggest time when a kid quits a sport is on the way home from a game and their parent is railing into them. So how was your dad hard on you, but keep it at a level to where it kept the passion there and didn't make you want to quit?
Yeah, he never forced it. He never forced soccer down. He was like, if this is not what you want to do, that's okay.
Yeah.
And always having that, it was like, okay, I'm doing this because it's my decision, because I want to be, you know what I mean? It has to be like, if they don't want to be a pro soccer player, then you're not, and anything you do is not going to really make them.
Right.
At the same, you know what I mean? So he was very tough. But when I told him I want to do it and it's for me, it's like, he's like, hey, if you don't want to do this, that's okay. I remember plenty of times I was getting just railed into after a bad game in the car, you know what I mean? But it was like, I always wanted to do it for me, and that's the biggest thing that you can emphasize is like, do it for you. Don't do it because of mom and dad, or do it for you.
Right.
Awesome.
Love it. I think that's great. All right. Mike, anything else you want to say?
Oh, man. Thank you for coming on. This has been awesome.
Yeah. Really cool.
Yeah. Colby, anything else you want to say?
I'm all good here.
All right, man. Yeah. Well, thank you for taking the time on a Sunday. We'll be watching, and we really appreciate you dropping some knowledge bombs on here.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you guys. Appreciate
it. We got a lot of quotables, man.
No doubt. We can make a little bit of a short here.
Yeah, man.
All right. Well, y'all heard it here. Sideline Talk.